Anyone got any negatives they thought?
I think that the most of those riots were spearheaded by males, and like the males were the ones with the pent up energy and the need to kind of get rid of it. Even the females that do appear in the film, their role in the film is like, what are you doing with all this weird attitude and strange, like violent, like, behavior? It's so inappropriate for like where we are and what we're doing. So yeah, it seems to me that it was surly kind of male egos and them kind of using the riot. It seems like, if they're talking commentary wise, them just using the riots as an opportunity just to express that kind of pent up violence. The kind of they seem really cocky and like proud, when they're talking about it and shit. And I don't think that's a female world.
Yeah, no, it's fair, because I can imagine if it was today, like there could be roles crowbarred in there for equality reasons, maybe. But 25 years is a long time, I suppose.
It did take quite a middle ground with one Arabic guy, one African guy, and one Jewish guy. It took this sort of level field and took all three of them on this story. It didn't focus on purely one of them.
And that's a negative, is it, Jem?
No, I'm not saying it's negative. I'm saying you said that it didn't. Okay, well.
No, I know what you mean. But it's also representative of one part of French society, which is what James is saying, that society hasn't moved on or got back on its feet. Is because that divide is still there in many societies, not just in French society, but in Paris especially. Like the division in some sections of Paris, like it's some districts. It's crazy. But there's the same. You get it in London and other cities around the world as well. James, was there anything you didn't like?
Not really. I'm looking. I know when I'm looking too hard to try and find a flaw in a film, and I just try and stop myself from doing it. There wasn't anything that I was watching it that I was like, oh, we should have done that differently, or that didn't quite work for me. I thought it all worked really, really well. I'm not going to go out and look for a flaw there. I think the other thing I would add is that I think for the first time when I watched a foreign language film, I actually turned the subtitles off for once, and just because I'd already, when second time viewing, I'd already know what's happening and stuff. So I just turned the subtitles off because I just loved listening to it. I just loved that it was in French, and like, they're just so much more impassioned when they're having their like little conversation, like rants and going to that. Everything just felt way more. Everything felt like it was heightened to another level, just in the way that they were delivering things. And I don't know whether that was just because it's in French or not. Did any of you do French language like enough at school to know whether it just sounds fucking just angry? Like everything just sounded really, really fucking angry.
There's nothing romantic about it.
Yeah, no, and it was so good.
Yeah. Did you watch the whole film without subtitles, or just bits and bobs of it? Because that seems like quite an interesting project.
Yeah, not the whole thing. I literally watched like 5 minutes of it, like just without subtitles.
See whether you've seen the story once, you can get a gist of what they're saying, really, because it's all kind of slang and like general rudeness. And I think the storytelling is so visual as well that you could probably follow the story without understanding the dialogue.
Yeah, you probably could. That'd be an interesting little experiment there. I'm not willing to do it though.
No.
Tom, other than the soundtrack, anything else, or is that sort of the main foible for you?
It wasn't even like a foible. It was like probably the only thing that I think could have made it better. I think sometimes we try and overanalyze these films too much, and like James said, and search for ways in which it could have been improved. But I think there's a reason it's so highly rated and seen as somewhat of a classic. So yeah, no, there wasn't too much wrong with it for me.
Okay, well, some facts before we go around and rate it. It cleaned up at Cannes in 1995. It did incredibly well, and even so much actually that I found here that Alain Juppé, who was the Prime Minister at the time in France, he commissioned a special screening of the film for the cabinet, which ministers were required to attend. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister said that despite resenting some of the anti-police themes present in the film, Juppé found La Haine to be a beautiful work of cinematographic art that can make us more aware of certain realities. So he felt necessary to show the cabinet that, because it's got such a poignant message. It's a pretty high praise, isn't it? If you've got the Prime Minister of France being like, right, we all need to watch this. To have awareness, I suppose, especially because also at the time, Kassovitz was so young as well. Like he was about 20, he was about 30. So all of them, as part of this production, were so young, and to create something like this that caused such a storm.
Did he make it for any particular reason? Did he have any ties to the riots that was part of the society or anything like that to make the film?
I think what it was is that there were deaths appearing on the news every so often, and then in the end the film was made as a dedicated tribute to those that had died because of the riots. So I'm assuming he was probably as a director, he was on the side of the rioters in this instance, because it was all about equality and against police brutality, wasn't it? So maybe it's just because of that. But one hell of a piece of cinema to make when you're only 30 or younger.
Yeah.
No pressure on all of us, when we make our first films. Let's go around the room and give it a rating then. It was my pick this week, so I'll go first. And I fucking loved it. Just really, really loved it. Thought the acting was great, the filming was great. Loved the story, loved the narrative, loved the ending. So I'm going to give it an 8.3, which I think, apart from maybe Good, the Bad, the Ugly, is my highest rating. It's certainly now one of my favourite foreign films, 100%. Probably my second favourite French film of them all.
That after Emily?
No, so that's after Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Emily would be my third, probably.
Those three couldn't be more different French films from each other.
Isn't it great though? Just so I'm so cultured. Like I've got such a great appreciation of French cinema. So yeah, two of which are thanks to this film club, to be honest. So I'm going to give it an 8.3. Jem,
isn't it just funny in Paris? You can imagine Amelie's just chilling in one corner of the city whilst Vince is just fucking walking around with a gun and just chatting breeze to Saeed. I just love that.
Jem, what are you going to give?
I'd echo all those points. Really enjoyed it. I thought it sort of held the line between. There's a lot of humour in it, which was quite funny. My favourite quote was definitely the guy just coming out the stall and going, "Nothing like a good shit." So that was great. And then the crescendo at the end was great for me. The way it's sort of roller coaster between holding a gun to this guy's head and then not shooting him, and you've got all that tension released. And then it just builds it back up instantly, just completely throwing a curveball. I give it a 8.0.
An 8 from Jem. Tom.
Yeah, I'm torn between which I prefer, with Amelie or this.
I had to compare. I had to look back at previous ones and be like, what did I give these ones now? Because they're getting so clustered.
Probably gets the fact of comparing it to the other films that we've rated.
You don't need to.
But yeah, it was pretty flawless. I really enjoyed it. It was just like a really aesthetically pleasing film. So some of my favourite films are in black and white, to be fair. You're 8.4 probably for me.
8.4 from Tom. There we go. What did you give Amelie? Did you give it 8.4 as well?
Yeah, I gave that an 8.4 or 8.5.
I think I got 8.3 or 4, I think.
I think I might an 8.5. I really did like Amelie, but I was properly in the mood for that film. Whereas this one kind of got broken up by the fact I had a stuttery link and watched it into 2 parts. Otherwise, I think I would have probably got really engrossed in it. Yeah, high rating.
Yeah, nice. 8.4 from you. Liam.
My favourite line is "motherfucking goddamn fucking steering wheel," and then he says poetry. And I'll give it an 8.
An 8 out of 10. And James.
Yeah, I'm also with Tom, 8.4. I knew I was going to give it ahead of time, and I think I'm pretty certain the same as you, Tom. I think that might be the same as what I've given Amelie from recollection. Completely different, but
So different.
I loved it. I fucking loved it. I loved them both.
Yeah, they're just really like interesting watches.
Okay, that gives Haine 8.2 out of 10, which is fair enough, I think. Where does that leave it? Jem, have you got it up there on your screen? Can you have a quick look at the top list?
I haven't, but I can do if you.
I think that puts it possibly in the top 10. You know, just on the cusp. On the cusp.
Nah, 8.2 is not in the top 10.
That's a low threshold for the top 10, I feel.
On the cusp, but maybe I've horribly overshot that. So let's see.
You might be right. I just that just feels low.
8.2. Oh no, yeah, sorry. 14th it puts it.
That's still pretty good.
Amelie 8.3.
We never ever review like guaranteed bangers because we've all seen them already.
That's
probably why our top 10.
Yeah, we're not going to get any like 9s coming through because chances are one of us has seen it.
Exactly, yeah.
But for Haine, that's not bad.
Yeah, good pick, guy. Good pick, mate.